The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.
My question on this appointment authority is this. What's the point of shared appointment authority, the President and the Senate, if a president can unilaterally appoint someone during a break in a congressional session, which he unilaterally declares to be a recess for the purpose of filling a vacancy that occurred when the Senate was still in session? It completely rewrites the appointments clause of the Constitution, just as John Roberts and the 4 left-wing activist justices on the Supreme Court rewrote the tax clause of the Constitution. What we have here is a roving constitutional convention without the benefit of us selecting our delegates. What we have here is constitutional amendment without going through the amendment process. And it's happening because the president makes a declaration, or the Supreme Court writes a joke of an opinion, or some agency issues some regulation, and all of a sudden the Constitution's been amended and we have no say. That's why fights like this are so crucial. Are they going to stop Obama ultimately? No. But these little battles must be fought to slow him down until he's out of office. That's absolutely crucial. Now, I want to point out the dictatorial nature of this administration, this president and his appointees. So the D.C. Circuit Court, the appellate court, the only other place you can go now is the Supreme Court, has issued its ruling, or this panel has issued its ruling, the power of the court. And as the Washington Examiner reports, Mark Gaston Pierce. Do you know who Mark Gaston Pierce is, Mr. Producer? Nobody does. He's the chairman of the National Labor Relations Board. This guy has enormous influence over our workplace. He issued the following statement in reaction to the court's ruling, and this court's ruling is the rule of law unless the Supreme Court changes it. He indicated that the National Labor Relations Board will attempt to continue what it's doing regardless of this court's ruling. Quote, the board respectfully disagrees with today's decision and believes that the president's position in the matter will ultimately be upheld. It should be noted that this order applies to only one specific case, and that similar questions have been raised in more than a dozen cases pending in other courts of appeals. In the meantime, the board has important work to do. The parties who come to us seek and expect careful consideration and resolution of their cases, and for that reason, we will continue to perform our statutory duties and issue decisions. This court ruled that these appointments were unconstitutional, which is why the decision in the specific case by the NLRB has been vacated. But the court ruled, in order to get to that point, that these appointments by Obama were unconstitutional. And those who've been appointed to the board unconstitutionally have just announced that they are going to defy this Federal Circuit Court's decision. And they have said that it only applies to this case and not all the others. Really? Really? I would like to suggest that the House of Representatives... John Boehner, you awake? Yellow. I would like to suggest that John Boehner and the boys and girls there in the Republican caucus, or whatever they call themselves, propose an independent bill, not part of some slop, an independent bill to defund the National Labor Relations Board, because it is, as of today, a rogue agency. It is a rogue agency. I have no expectation that Harry Reid and the other numbskulls in the Senate will support it because they believe in rogue government. They're behind it. But the Republicans need to send a message, and they need to send it now, and I am encouraging them, I am urging them right now, put up a bill to defund the National Labor Relations Board because it is defying a circuit court decision. It says it's going to continue to make rulings in cases even though it does not have a quorum, even though 3 of its members sit there illegally. You have got to stand up to this. The President of the United States. Mr. President, all your drones who listen to this program and take careful notes, are you authorizing the National Labor Relations Board, which does not have a quorum as of today, and its 3 illegal members who are continuing to sit in judgment? Are you authorizing them? Are you encouraging them to continue in their unconstitutional acts, despite the fact that a federal court has ruled that you didn't have the power to appoint them? Because, sir, if you are, it's an impeachable offense. Once again, the system's broken. I do not expect the Republicans to stand up for the Constitution. But I'll continue to do it in my capacity regardless. Now we have a court order. Fair and square. Obama wanted this to go to court. Obama provoked it. It went to court, and he lost. And his appointees are saying, oh, no. The court only meant to decide the individual case and the ruling in the case before us, not everything else. No, that's simply not correct. The court specifically said that these appointments, your appointments, are without authority. They're in violation of the Constitution. The NLRB strategy, as the Washington Examiner points out, is to act as if the court's ruling that the appointments were unconstitutional somehow only applies to the particular case that went before the appeals court, and hope that the White House can get the Supreme Court to quickly review the case. Brazen, lawless, rogue, dictatorial. At the top of the news, the top of the hour, you won't hear any of this. What you will hear is that the Republicans won a lawsuit against Obama. You won't hear any discussion on the Sunday shows about an imperial president and his imperial administration defying the Constitution. You will not hear this from David Gregory or Bob Schiffless or whatever his name is, Bob Schieffer. What's the little munchkin's name? What's his name? Or George Stephanopoulos, the Obama, Clinton enforcer. I get confused with all these tyrannies. You won't hear a word from the media because the media love it. The media love tyranny. As long as they can be the stenographers and take out the words of the imperial president, they love it. They're all goo-goo gaga for it. And I talked about that earlier this week, the New York Slimes. Covering up the Holocaust. Promoting Castro as a small d Democrat. Covering up the Soviet massacres, including the 7 million murdered in the Ukraine. Covering it up. Promoting the dictators. This is what they do. The only part of the Constitution the media care about is the one that protects them. Freedom of the press. The rest of it, they could care less. And they go along with the rewriting of the Constitution. The part about abortion and invisible ink. That's good. That's good. Obamacare. Yes, that's good. And all the rest of it. So they'll be silent about that. That's why this program will never be silent about any of it. Period. Obama seeks to destroy the Constitution and its very structure, piece by piece. The Democrat Party goes along. Tens of millions of people go along. You hear several of them call this program, like the recent 2 drones an hour ago. And now the National Labor Relations Board itself has said, we don't care what the court ruled. See, if the court had ruled for them, they'd be waving around the decision and say, see this? This is terrific. But the court rules against them. And they say, see this? This has nothing to do with us. In other words, they can never lose. Even when they lose elections, they never lose because they squirrel themselves into the bureaucracy, into the judgeships, and advance their agenda in spite of the will of the people. And when they win, they just put it in hyper mode. They load up the bureaucracy with ideologues. If they can't get something through Congress, they act independently. And now we have a rogue National Labor Relations Board. Let me repeat what I said a year ago. Anybody who has any issues in front of the NLRB, sue them. And use the D.C. Circuit Court's decision today as a basis for your suit. Sue them.
The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.